We get the best of both worlds. The fastest reflexes modern technology has to offer, onboard computer-assisted memory, and a lifetime of on-the-street law enforcement programming. It is my great pleasure to present to you
Neal Rubin.
This guy is really good.
He's not a guy, he's a machine.
Old Detroit has a cancer. Cancer is
Shawn Windsor.
Let America go. You are under arrest.
You better back up, pal!
Your move, creep.
You asked it around, get a toothpick out of my tooth. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, Neal.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal, ML Elric. Back in the basement with Mark Fellhauer, Shawn Windsor, and a gentleman who can take credit for me being at the Free Press, but bears none of the blame for Shawn Windsor being there.
I was going to say, why is it credit?
I think I've done okay for the Morning Friendly over the years.
You don't mind saying so yourself?
Which
you never do.
I think the good people who subscribe for $1 a month are getting their money's worth. Although, when you give somebody $1 a month, you don't have to do very much to earn it. But that's Neal Rubin, the superlative columnist for the Free Press, who was very involved way back when in helping to hire interns at the Free Press and risked his reputation to help me get a shot at joining the Free Press. And shortly after that, he had to leave for the news, so maybe they did hold that against him. But he's back at the Free Press to talk about a topic that we've been talking about for how many years has it been, Neal, with this RoboCop thing?
Since 2011. Since
2011. That's almost 14 years. So we're going to get the latest on this iconic statue that I guess is actually done, but we don't know when it's going to make its public debut. And all this is brought to you by Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, who will help you come up with a plan to create a more secure future. The Caju Cafe, the pride of the East Side, was always a great time for great food, great music, and great fun. And of course, you, our Patreon subscribers. I made a fairly desperate appeal last week for more soulmates, because we have been facing some, I guess what the fancy pantsers would say, economic headwinds, which means we ain't making very much dough, so we're all taking a pay cut. Unless you good people will pony up a little bit more. And we have some new soulmates. We'll talk about them a little bit later in the show. But the benefit of becoming a soulmate, besides ensuring our survival, which maybe that's not one of the good reasons you give, but it's something to think about. There are worse causes out there. And we let you watch the show every week. You get the show before everybody else. You get a bonus episode, and we will be posting a new bonus episode shortly. And when we do special events like Soul Night at the Caju Cafe on August 1st, you can show up. You get some special swag that will only be there for you, and some opportunities to hang out with the crew. So that should be a lot of fun. So we look forward to seeing those of you who are soulmates on August 1st. And the rest of you want to come on out, but we won't make eye contact with you because you're just civilians. You're not part of the gang. You just,
You also get access to the video, like you said, and you could have seen Shawn on his phone. And then what were you taking a picture of?
Neal.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Neal's here.
Spoken like a guy who walks in 1 minute before we start.
It's worth marking. Yeah. So was Mike here on time? By the way, Mike.
Not only was Elric here on time, he was early.
Oh, I can't believe that.
He
By
was
the way,
early.
I was early, and I spoke with Dennis out front.
That's true.
And I just came from getting my hair cut. By the way,
I was just going to say those headphones are snug.
Yeah.
With the what are we calling that? A musk?
A musk?
A musk. Oh, like Elon?
Oh boy,
yeah, I don't know.
A little short.
I remember Shawn and I fighting over the Proud Boys haircut appellation. That was an epic battle for those of you who want to dabble in our back.
I think your mother was here that day.
She was. She heard Shawn use some words that she hasn't heard since she left the Navy.
That also sounded like a fighting word. Your mother was here that day.
Yeah.
Well, she was, amazingly enough, took my side. I still can't believe it.
Yeah, she said she's
knows
always
what he stands for.
She's always favored the weak and helpless. She just recently tried to revive a little chick that my sister hatched and didn't make it. But yeah, that little McNugget and Shawn are two favorite things on the face of
That's
the
the
earth.
summer cut. Is that what we're calling it?
That's right. I just came from Tez, by the way. If you admire this, if you're a soulmate and watching, Tez is returning to Johnson and Company on East Jefferson, just down the street from Marshall's Bar. Go see Tez. Tell him I sent you, and he'll fix you up good and proper.
How much did he pay for that, Reed? Did you get your haircut for free?
No.
Should have.
No, in fact, Tez is a big fan of the show and sports our gear all the time. So we may end up trying to open a little retail shop there. So stand by. Stand by.
Well, it looks good. It's Shawn approved.
Well,
Yeah, I can't run my fingers through it anymore, but I'll survive.
yeah, if you would
I
respect
don't want
my
to picture
space.
that.
Yeah,
I know, Neil. See what you walked into
appreciate
today.
that. Yeah. So, wow, how do we go from a pitch for dough to some sort of creepy Shawn white van at the park with ice cream visual? It's not.
I don't know. Just trying to keep it interesting.
Okay. Shawn gets his haircut at
One strand.
Age?
at the Homer Simpson barbershop.
It's easy to cut one strand.
He's got the Duggan. It's very, very attractive. But Neil, we've been trying to.
Neil's been laughing for 5 minutes. I'm sorry that I made this show fun.
It's about time. We've been trying to get
What's
this.
the matter, Mark?
Nothing. Go ahead.
We've been trying to get this RoboCop statue thing going forever, and every once in a while, you and I will talk about it. I'm like, hey, could you put me in touch with the guys who are doing it? It's like, well, they're just about ready to put it out there. So I want to break that news when it happens. I think we've had that conversation, I don't know, since the last 3 buildings we've lived in, worked out of. So you had a column this weekend, and we'll have a link to that on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And it looks like, I say, for fear of being contradicted once again, that this thing will finally be unveiled, but maybe not.
Gosh, it's encouraging news that's even more encouraging than the encouraging news last year and the year before.
Yeah. But it's
So
done.
you're not buying it.
It is done, right?
Oh yeah, there verified sightings of the RoboCop statue, which is kind of wrapped in paper towels, and stored in a garage/warehouse thing at Eastern Market. So it does exist. It has existed for a long time, but apparently, getting the legality straight and actually erecting an 11-foot tall, 3,500-pound bronze sculpture, there's complications. Whoever would have thought?
Now, when you say legality, you mean because it's a character?
Exactly. It's a trademarked character owned by MGM Studios. And apparently they're a little prickly about who uses their trademark character. I would think in a lot of cases, art for art's sake, you can do that. I don't think Andy Warhol had to get permission from
Marilyn
Campbell's
Monroe,
Soup.
Campbell's Soup. Well, I don't know what the
Monroe.
boundaries of fair use are, but this thing started organically, where people said, "Hey, wouldn't it be nice if we had the RoboCop statue?" And at that time, we probably could have used any kind of extra cops we could get. And then it was crowdfunded, and they raised the money they needed, but that was just the beginning.
Yeah, it actually started with a tweet.
Like all good things.
Yes.
Yes. In 2011, some guy in Massachusetts tweeted Dave Bing and said, "Hey, Philadelphia has a Rocky statue. Detroit should have RoboCop." And, Dave is a nice man.
Very
but
nice.
He's not the most buoyant, fun-loving, he's not going to have a lampshade on his head at a party. and he kind of said, "Nah." But this band of artists at they call it the Imagination Station. It was down by the train station. And they said, "Oh, this sounds like fun." And they started a Kickstarter. And people from all over the world, and it's like, it was literally pennies and dimes. There weren't any really monstrous contributors. But they raised, and I wrote about it recently enough that I know this number from memory: $67,436.
And that's enough, right?
Well,
Well, it's been more. It's been more than that, though. In the end, right? Haven't they donated more than that? So I thought you wrote there were some corporate sponsorships too.
The corporate sponsorships have gone to Eastern Market for trying to get the thing upright, but actually creating the statue. That money, they took $65,000 of it, got George Gekas from, a sculpture works, a big bronze works in the city. And he said, yeah, I'll do it. He didn't realize what he was biting off there. And he's no rookie. But this thing, apparently there were complications, there were expenses. It tied up all kinds of staff time. It took a couple of years to get the thing done. It cost him way more than the $65,000 they paid him. So bless him for taking this on. And, so since then, it's just been wandering aimlessly, this 11-foot tall bronze guy wandering the city looking for a home.
So how long has it actually been done?
At least a decade.
The actual statue's been done for 10 years.
Yeah.
What a perfect symbol for the city. I mean, why is it so hard to find a spot for it, a location for it?
Well, first off, there was a crowd fund to put it in front of the train station back when the train station was a wreck. The Imagination Station guys never had any actually connection with that, but that was there. Then they got the Michigan Science Center to do it. They said, yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, seems appropriate.
Sure. And then came a leadership change and some budget cuts, and they said, never mind. And then
why? What would it cost them? It would cost them very little, if anything.
Well, apparently, maybe they investigated it the way Eastern Market has and figured out, wait a minute, somebody's going to have to pay the licensing for this, and it's going to be us. And you can't just dig a hole and stick the thing.
Yeah, this thing must weigh literally a ton, right?
Yeah, 1.75 tons, 3,500 pounds. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes into just erecting something that can hold it, and then you've got to maintain it. You've got to be responsible for it. And then what nobody has asked recently, at least, is why RoboCop? If you remember the movie, Detroit's only role in this, the movie was shot in Dallas.
Right.
Detroit's only role was to be this toxic hellhole that needed a RoboCop to save it. So I've always thought that was kind of mysterious. But okay, we can make fun of ourselves. We can have some fun with this. We'll put up a RoboCop.
Well, in the movie, which came out, I think, in the 90s, the city of Detroit goes bankrupt.
The 80s.
Yeah.
In the 80s, okay. Yeah. The city of Detroit goes bankrupt and it's been taken over by a corporation and there aren't enough cops, which is all outlandish. Since then, the city of Detroit has gone bankrupt. There aren't enough cops and we've been taken over by the Illiches and the Gilberts. Well, wait a minute. The only thing we don't have is RoboCop, but I guess we do. But he said, has there been some controversy over, is this appropriate? Does this make fun of the city of Detroit? Is RoboCop racist? Is RoboCop an imperialist? Is he, has the actual notion of a robot enforcing the law in and of itself controversial?
That's a great point followed by a great question. The point about life imitating, this 1987 movie. And I didn't realize it in my capacity as a white guy from the suburbs. It did not, I thought, okay, some people are going to be upset about this because, it's celebrating a movie that celebrated Detroit worse than it ever actually was. But,
Hellscape Detroit.
Yeah. But after the last update, which was July of 2024, I heard from a couple of people, and it was a point I just hadn't heard raised before that said, hey, this is flat out racist. So I rewatched the movie, and interestingly, I think the mayor is black, the police chief is black, and one member of the head criminal's gang is black. So it wasn't what I expected when I rewatched it, where it was, roving gangs of black people tearing up the city. But there's a feeling among people who are directly affected by this that, hey, if you're saying this about Detroit, if you're saying Detroit can't govern itself, Detroit can't save itself, Detroit can't handle its business, then that's inherently racist. And I found some, again, did a follow-up to the column last year, and a couple of people made that point in interesting ways. And, I wouldn't have seen it. I don't know that I'm stopped by it, but it's a really interesting perspective.
Well, the mayor is a clown. I mean, he's kind of a Mr. Bojangles type, so, we can't, it is not, let's put it this way. It was not Coleman Young, who was a very erudite and well-spoken and definitive gentleman. This guy was kind of a boob who couldn't run his city and was willing to let a corporation bail him out, where I could see that might offend people. But this is the kind of thing that if it is put out there would become an instant tourist attraction. This is the kind of thing people would come.
I was going to say, for as serious as you are, it's also a movie with a pretty just cool looking character. I mean, just looks neat, and it's a movie that not too many people have really seen. I mean, it's kind of a cult movie. Like, are we looking too deep into it about the meaning behind it?
Well, it's a satire.
It's silly.
It's dark humor is what it is. It's
very much so.
It's a satire, and what they're really poking at is the military-industrial complex, right? The bad guy's the corporation. That's in the
absolutely.
movie.
My point is, you could do that with a lot. You could do that with Mickey Mouse. You could look at Mickey Mouse and see a lot of like corporate Disney and how evil they are, or this or that, or maybe they're too woke. I mean, you always can find meaning behind any symbol, and in the end, it's just a character from a movie. No,
but the point of the movie is to sort of poke at these uber capitalists that are coming in and trying to take advantage of a city that's in poverty and struggling a little bit and so forth, right?
Yeah, they were kind of early tech bros in the movie when you think about it, the underlings, and then the head villain is absolutely the CEO.
The villains are great. Yeah, no, that Ronnie Cox plays the head villain, and then Kurtwood Smith plays his henchman. His name is, I love this movie, sorry, Clarence Boddicker, who has one of the great, I think, sort of underrated lines in movie bad guy history, where he goes in to kill somebody, that the designer of the RoboCop, who goes against Ronnie Cox, who wants to use these actual robots in the movie to police the city. One of the VPs wants the RoboCop. Anyway, the henchman goes into
Miguel
this house.
Ferrer,
Exactly. The henchman, played by Kurtwood Smith, his name is Clarence Boddicker, goes in to kill this guy who's doing cocaine on a glass coffee table, of course, because it's the 1980s, and there are a couple of gals with him, escorts with him, and he sees the gals, and he's a nice enough sociopath that he didn't want to kill them too, so he walks in and says, "Bitches leave." and then they leave, and then he of course kills the guy. But yeah, no, Kurtwood Smith is pretty memorable from that movie.
Yeah, and one of the opening scenes is they've got these outright robots that are supposed to patrol the city, and oops, it accidentally kills like a corporate VP.
Yes.
It doesn't recognize that he has put down his simulated weapon, and everybody's attitude is, oh well. There's lots of suits. We won't miss just one.
Yeah, and now we have self-driving cars we're worried about. We have green light. We have shots. All this technology is here. But the thing about the movie that people, I think, forget too is it's very poignant. The story of the cop who gets killed and he loses his humanity, but he still can connect with his family, has those memories, and his relationship with the other cops and how they all come together. It's actually, I haven't seen RoboCop 2. That may be awful in RoboCop 3, whatever it is. But I actually thought the original RoboCop, with the exception of some of the tropes in there, was a pretty good movie.
I would agree. I saw it, and I was in film school at the time. It was back when I wanted to make my living in that business. And I immediately
Immediately threw off your beret,
yeah, right. Called.
put down your clove cigarettes.
Oh, I called this. I never smoked clove cigarettes.
But you did know a gal in Memphis. Was a confused gal in Memphis who you still talk to from time to
Yeah,
time.
we did drive around Memphis looking for clove cigarettes, but that was for her.
dog tracks.
But no, I there was a film professor that I was had kind of bonded with a little bit, and I said, you got to go see this movie. So we went and saw it a second time together, and then he started showing it in a class. I mean, it was a very, at least in the film community, sort of the art community, they took that movie very seriously as a sort of ahead of its time political satire.
And it was Paul Verhoeven, right, who did it?
Yes, he did. And I went out and saw a few of his movies that he'd made in the Netherlands before he came over, which were far more disturbing and violent than RoboCop, including a guy who was in a convertible behind a construction truck. You know those metal rods, the rebar that you put in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, a band of those, and the guy ahead of him slammed on the brakes, and one of them flew out and went through the guy's eye and skull. And this is the kind of movies he was, and it was incredibly gory. And
You really did go to film school.
but I remember thinking, wow, what the fuck are they doing in Europe? I mean, right? It was just far more brutal.
Yeah, Max von Sydow playing chess with death. They do all kinds of weird shit over there.
Or
But
some of their fascist satire movies that were made in Italy in the 60s.
Well,
I mean, just the...
so Verhoeven
Anyway.
Verhoeven did the film adaptation of Robert Heinlein's Starship Trooper, and the society, you can only vote if you've served in the military, and the good guys, the Earthlings who are fighting these bugs, all their uniforms and all their mannerisms sort of ape the Third Reich, and that became very controversial too. So this notion that he does these social satires that really press boundaries and sort of glorify things like dehumanizing law enforcement, and the good guys have a very weird similarity to the Nazis. I mean, he's kind of an edgy dude, but at the same time, people think of Detroit, they think of RoboCop. Philadelphia, which I think was the original capital of the United States, which has a 300 or more year history, that there are many wonderful places to go in Philadelphia. People still go there just to get their picture taken with friggin' Sylvester Stallone.
Well, Rocky's a little different than RoboCop.
Also
right?
not 11 foot tall, more like 5'4", I think. But a lot less bronze required to put the Rock out there on the front steps of the Philadelphia Institute of Art. This is no Rodin. And they have it and people love it. Why can't we do this?
Well, it's funny. Initially, there was big pushback from Philadelphians about the Rocky statue. Rocky said, "I wish to donate this to you." And Philadelphia said, "I think it's great art. You love it." Yeah.
Sly, all right.
Yeah, and people were saying pretty much bite me. But then they realized what a magnet it was, and people want to run up the steps and get their picture taken with it. And hey,
that's the difference too between those two. One won an Academy Award, and the other one's a cult classic. And it's the difference between Sylvester Stallone and Peter Weller, who, by the way, I saw at Joe T. Garcia's in Fort Worth one time. If you're ever down in Fort Worth, go eat at Joe T. Garcia's.
Oh, I've been to Joe T's.
Okay, good.
That's a suburb of Dallas, right?
No menu. What's that?
That's right, right next to Dallas.
Yeah,
it's the better gateway to Dallas.
Okay, I just want to be clear. My
a suburb of Dallas.
Yes, and Peter Weller.
That's what people in Dallas think.
So, Shawn, you're saying that RoboCop's not worthy of a statue because it's
I'm not saying
the
that at all.
success
I'm
of
saying in the
Rocky?
popular imagination, right?
But now, isn't somebody trying to steal RoboCop from us? Didn't you write that there's a bid by somebody to spirit this hulking chunk of metal
And
away
it's related
from us?
to Peter Weller. Is that what you were about to say, Neil?
Yes,
Before
Peter
you were
Weller.
so rudely interrupted.
Oh, hell, it's what we do here. But Peter Weller is this really cool, smart guy who has a PhD in art history. Like
Buckaroo Banzai.
real, authentic academic stuff, Italian Renaissance sculpture, I think. And he is from Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
That's right.
Which is dead center in Wisconsin. If you made, a Wisconsin dartboard, Stevens Point would be the bullseye. It's just right there. And the mayor is a very funny character. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I saw your article last year and I haven't seen anything since. we still want the statue. They had made a run at it before. They said, hey, Peter Weller's from here. That's a legit claim. And
you don't seem to be doing anything with it.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. It's like, if you guys are just going to sit there and let it get moldy and tarnished in a warehouse, hell, we'll take it. But it turns out that there has been progress. They now have a specific place in Eastern Market where they're going to put it. At Russell and Erskine, there's a former firehouse there that's now...
it's a Thai restaurant, isn't it? Salad Thai, or it was?
The Thai place closed, but right there on that corner is, I think the building is now owned by kind of a film studio, Free Age, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, and...
It's a crime-ridden film studio, too, right? So this will be perfect.
Well, they can make that work if you need it to.
Sure.
But anyway, so that's where it's going. They need. Oh, Mark was saying, haven't they? Hasn't a whole bunch of money been committed to this? Mm-hmm. Yes, between legal fees, licensing, acquiring the land, and then you got to pour the pedestal and just do everything sturdy enough to hold this statue, which it turns out you can't put on a couple of milk crates. It needs more than that. They just got a $50,000 corporate commitment that will bring the total to $210,000 that Eastern Market has raised specifically for this. So it's not like Eastern Market is shorting any other programs. It's not like they're...
That's $210,000 over the $6,500 raised to create it.
$65,000 raised to create it.
$65,000, right.
Yes. And all they need now is $50,000 more dollars, and that'll give them everything they need to get RoboCop upright, watching over the city. Although some people, when I wrote that story last year, saying, hey, we have people here saying this is a racist symbol. I heard from some guy who said, that dude going to get scrapped. So we'll have to see how long he's... I think he'll be fine. But, yes, that will bring the entire thing, including the cost of creating the statue, to more than $300,000.
Oh my God! How perfectly ridiculous!
Astonishing.
Yeah,
it'd be nice if the Omnicorp would donate that last $50,000.
They were the bad guys, of course, for our listener in RoboCop.
Neal, before we let you go, one of the most interesting twists in this whole story, which is full of twists, is that we don't own it anymore. The people who created it don't own it. It's actually owned now by the film studio.
Yeah, in order to get the rights, apparently, they're very protective of their brand, even though there hasn't been a RoboCop movie since RoboCop 3, which Peter Weller wouldn't even touch. Maybe did you see it, Shawn? I've not seen.
I've not seen the second or third, but they did do a reboot.
They did a reboot.
They did a reboot
right,
within the last 7-8 years.
Yes,
and I did see that.
Okay.
How different was it?
It was very similar. It didn't hit.
I'm surprised it didn't do well.
It didn't hit the same though, right? It just, that was a pretty radical movie in a way when it came out in that era.
Yeah.
Well, and the addiction to that synthetic drug that's when crack was running rampant. It was kind of
it's a dark movie.
It kind of hit close to home.
Yeah, the guy was predicting the future, and this is totally off point, but back when RoboCop was a hit, and it cost $13 million and change to make, and I think brought in like $54 million when that was real money in 1987. And some club owner in Pontiac invited me to come out and judge a RoboCop walk contest because the Peter Weller character had this unique walk. And so, there were a couple other judges and me, and, they had, 8 or 10 people vying for whatever the first prize was, chicken wings, whatever. And we picked, this guy.
Were they bone-in or boneless?
They were bone-in. Boneless had not yet been perfected.
Good.
They didn't have the technology for boneless.
That's right.
But anyway, so we picked this guy, and the club owner I can tell he's not happy about this. And so the thing ends, and he comes over to me and says, well, I don't really like the choice you and the other judges made. And I said, why? What difference does it make? And he said, well, we had a fake orgasm contest here last week, and that guy who won was absolutely obscene. And I said, wait a minute. You're the ones who had the fake orgasm contest, and you're mad at me for not knowing the results?
So wait a minute. And
They're not independent of each other. Come on.
He was also concerned that the fake orgasm was too obscene.
Yes.
What do you want? Just kind of a.
Or just a stare down.
Is that the noise you make, Mike?
I don't fake
sorry.
my orgasm, Sean.
He just apologizes.
like Sting. I'm tantric. Yeah.
You know what Mark said?
My standard line is, "Are you done yet?"
His noise is, "I'm sorry."
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No,
I'll be on my way.
My line is, "I'll get my pants off next time."
Oh, jeez. Oh, God.
Thanks, Neal, for taking us right in the gutter. You want to put this filthy racist statue up, and then you bring your smutty talk from Pontiac. I mean, thought you were a sophisticated journalist when we booked you, but that's what
he is. He is. By the way,
that's what you get when you don't pay guests an appearance fee.
One of the biggest foodie journalists in America. Right?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't write it, but I certainly appreciate it, as do you. One of the first deep conversations we had.
We ever had.
We thought, hey, this Shawn is a cool guy. We're going to be friends. Was about restaurants in Chicago.
It was. Well, you were working at the Detroit News, and we had a little mutual admiration society session on the sidewalk, and he'd just come back from Chicago. Tell these guys what you did in Chicago. At that point, I mean, this is with early 2000 prices too, by the way.
Yeah,
because I've always loved this.
This would have been I can't remember if it was her 40th birthday or her 50th. It was probably. Well, I'm not going to get too deep into dates here, lest I get into trouble at home. But we had gone to celebrate in Chicago, and on back-to-back nights. We went to a restaurant called True, T-R-U, which was the hot new thing in Chicago. And one of the highlights was what they called, it was a caviar staircase, where this little clear plastic staircase thing with different kinds of caviar in each step.
And by the way, this is at the height of the fine dining kind of movement.
Yes, and so we went there one night. Charlie Trotter the next. I think for the two of us, it was well over $500 for the two meals in old money. I just remember thinking as I was picking up the tabs, this is more than I paid for my first two cars.
Oh God!
And I remember thinking, I need to get to the Detroit News if their reporters can go to Chicago and eat like that. And this is 2003, 4, somewhere in there. Yeah.
And the other thing Shawn left out is that Neal and Shawn met right after he was crowned fake orgasm contest winner.
Well, hey, Neal and I did have a meal together on the road a few years ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. I want to say it was Scottsdale.
Yeah.
If this comes back to an orgasm, stop the story.
I know,
right
it sounds
now.
like it almost has to now.
Better.
Neal
It's
had been eating at the finest restaurants all over America. Then we ate at an In-N-Out in Scottsdale.
Which can go back to sex if somebody wants to make
In-N-Out. Yeah.
But they're great.
Pretty obvious.
It was great. It was after some event. We were out there for the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, it was late. Michigan TCU.
There you go. Yeah, that was a terrible game.
Your favorite game, Mark.
A lot of pick sixes.
Yeah, but man, and we're just looking at each other thinking, we're hungry. Let's find an In-N-Out.
And it was late, and this is back when the newspaper still used to send news side writers to big sporting events to sort of capture the color and the scene. And
They still should.
Yeah.
Well, Neal's got a lot more stories. We're going to share them with you in our bonus episode. That's something that's exclusive to our soulmates. And if you want to buy bonus episodes one at a time, Patreon has a way for you to do that. But Neal, thanks for coming in. We'll post a link to your RoboCop story. And if and when he finally does patrol the streets of Eastern Market, we will let folks know.
I'll be back. Oop, wrong movie.
Wrong movie.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek or we're turning into cool guys?
Oh, no. That's what they said in Florida when they were trying to pick a new president for their university system. And here's what I don't understand. I think it's too easy for me to make fun of Santana or Santa, whatever it is. I should say Santana had an open invitation. This guy's got no invitations. But my real geeks are the trustees of the Florida university system, because they got a university president who will do whatever the athletic director wants him to do. If they say we're conservative, he'll be conservative. If they say we're liberal, we'll be liberal. He will go whichever way the wind blows. And that wasn't good enough in the SEC. A guy who's willing to let athletics run the university, a guy who's willing to subjugate his principles for glory. And that wasn't good enough for the trustees of the University of Florida?
I think it's even dumber than that. I think they just fell to political pressure. I mean, that's what happened to Santa. I don't know. He was the only candidate, which I get why you would quit your job at Michigan to go down there. You're the only candidate up for president. And then, the powers that be down there being Donald Trump Jr., and other
Rick Scott.
I think DeSantis, to a smaller part, found out, hey, this guy pushed DEI at Michigan. We don't want him. And then they voted him out.
Yeah, and I understand that they don't like that, but he also indicated, I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy. What regents don't want that?
Say, that's a really great point, Ulrich, that I've heard nobody make. That, he would have done exactly what they wanted him to. Although
it wasn't the regents.
Well, whoever
regents wanted him.
Whoever oversees the entire university system.
It was the state board of governors that oversees that. And I think DeSantis was fine with him, actually. Right?
Well, he was
Maybe
at first.
help
He was at first. I think he took kind of a victory lap because, hey, we stole this great president from a major research university
who's rejecting wokeism. Right? That was the
won't fight
pitch.
Trump and all that. But
he got run out of Ann Arbor because he was, not woke enough.
Well, I think he got run out of Ann Arbor because of the Palestinian.
No, I'm not saying why. I'm just saying that that was
perceptually.
That was what they were selling down in Florida. DeSantis was.
Anyway. So these people who are all looking for rubber stamp get a rubber stamp and it's still not good enough for them? Boy, I don't know what else you're looking for. And that's why you're my Geek of the Week. Well, you know who's not a geek?
Who?
Luke Nowacki. And, he steers clear of politics, but I did hear from the best of celebrities that if Donald Trump won in November and became our president, it would be the end of our nation. Now, obviously that happened and we are still here today. Then I'd also heard from people that if Kamala Harris had won, it would be the end of our nation. And I don't know, California's in trouble. I don't know. Maybe that's going to turn out to be true. But since it appears that no matter who wins these things, people will tell you that we're going to be screwed either way, why not ask Luke Nowacki for help managing your investment portfolio as the country implodes or doesn't, like the last days of Rome? What do you have to lose? You can't lose more than 100%. So when you call Luke at 248-663-4748, that's 248-663-4748, he will make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Well, room 7609 is where you go for great music and great stories. So it's so fitting that we have a good story to go with Neal Rubin, who's one of the greatest storytellers in Detroit journalism history. And room 7609 is brought to you by the Caju Cafe. A great time for great food, great music, and great fun on the east side. But everyone's welcome to join us there. You won't run into Reggie Harding there. I can guarantee you that. Wednesday, it's karaoke, the longest running karaoke night in Detroit from 8 to midnight. Thursday, the Bill Meyer Group's Open Jazz Jam Session, which also goes from 8 to 11, and that's also free. Friday, Revival, a tribute to the Allman Brothers Band from 7 to 11. That's $20. Saturday, Ethan Mark and Indy Gwynn. That's going to be from 7 to 11, a measly $10 to get in. Sunday, the Detroit Jazz Factory will be playing from 3 to 6, and the Hard Way goes from 7 to 10. Monday, again, it's all you can eat mussels. That's Muscle Madness and the Monday Night Blues Jam with Eric Grobel from 8:30 to 11:45 p.m., and that is also free. You can find out what's going on at the Caju at CajuCafe.com, and we hope to see you there on August 1st, when we'll have Shasta Fox, the King's English, and some exclusive swag and an opportunity to hang out with us as part of our first ever Soul Night. Kevin writes in, hey there, multilingual Elric. Little play on the ML thing. I could write in a suggestion for room 7609 every week, but I generally hold back until you're out of your own picks. I love this segment, and discovering new to me music is the best. Shawn, are you listening over there?
I am.
Okay. Anyway, my favorite band, Born Ruffians, just released a new album June 6th, and one of the singles actually reminded me a bit of the Thomas Dolby song you just played. Usually Born Ruffians are somewhere between Talking Heads and The Strokes, but injected with a Toronto-bred Canadian humor. Born Ruffians don't generally lean on the synths, but they do it here in a catchy way with the song Athena. The lead singer says the song's about how there's so much heavy shit going on in a world, and he imagines some god of war enjoying it. So this is his plea to her. Please enjoy Born Ruffians, Athena.
There's a trap gonna get you. That's not future friendly. Reach out for the carrots, it sticks. Now I'm running in circles over my head, tripping all over the words I said. But it's a new moon now, Ouroboros ebb tide, and it's much too much for me. Oh, out, not a member, get stuck on the outside in your jeans. Now you're running in circles, trying to get in, tripping all over what might have been, and it's much too much, too much, too much, too much, too much for me.
Athena. So, Shawn, I'm sure you know that Athena is the goddess of wisdom and war.
Whatever you say.
Were you even paying attention?
Yeah.
No. Did you
He
know?
sold it well.
Did you know that she was born by parthenogenesis?
No.
Really? Not at all. Sprung fully formed from the head of Zeus, her father.
Yeah.
She's the patron of the city of Athens, and the Parthenon. There's a temple dedicated to her right there.
Oh, you got him yawning.
Which you've seen.
I have seen it.
In person, of course.
Seen it a couple times.
Were you on a moped?
I was not. I leave the stealing of conveyances to you, Mr. Windsor.
You were on a motorcycle.
I was on foot. I was à pied, as they say.
Are we losing you?
So.
We're losing you over there?
No.
So, Newborn Ruffians album out there. Apparently, it won't be as synth heavy as this tune was. It did have kind of a
tune.
little
Not
Thomas
No, it
Dolby.
wasn't
It was
bad.
a
It
little
wasn't a bad-
poppier, a little more upbeat than I think Mr. Dolby. But
Yeah,
choice.
wasn't a bad tune.
the Born Ruffians are probably not as worried about the state of our ecology as Mr. Dolby is. But that's all right. We can't all be worried about that. It's drill, baby, drill. So, Kevin, thank you very much for sending in your suggestion. We love your songs. We love your stories even more. You can send them to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Send a song, but most of all, send a story. And I guarantee you, Shawn will have plenty to say about it.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure I can. Maybe it's not a guarantee. It's aspirational, and we're hoping for that. Mark, can we actually welcome our new soulmates with a little music? Since
absolutely.
we want to roll out the red carpet for them, as we will on August 1st. I put out an appeal last week because we really are getting hit by some financial realities that are causing us to scale back at a time when we would like to expand. And Joel heard the call. Joel, thanks for becoming a new soulmate. Paul also heard the call to action and acted, as did another Paul. That's two Paul. It's almost like
That's awesome.
We almost got the disciples here.
Let me start cooking.
And one of the Pauls says, "Hi, ML, Shawn, and Mark. I just became a member of your Patreon group and figured I'd check in and say hi. Hi.
Hi. Thanks.
If there was a way
Hello.
to connect through Patreon, I couldn't find it, so I decided to just do the old-fashioned electronic mail." And he has a suggestion for room 709, which we will get to next week. And coincidentally, it also involves a Canadian band. I don't know what's going on here, so we will
Finally,
feature
some Rush.
We will feature that in. We talked about Rush last week, as you may recall. So we will get to that next week. Joe K., who is a soulmate, writes, "In a benefit to being a soulmate," and this is something we don't talk about, but I think this really is cool, is seeing some of the music videos that come with Room 7609. It reminds me of when MTV, or at my age, MTV2, used to still show music videos, and sometimes you would come across songs and bands you never heard of before. It does kind of make me nostalgic. Doesn't it? I mean, I loved MTV when it was all music. I don't care about Cribs or 16 Mom or whatever the hell it is, or
Well, you
Puck
should.
and his
Those are great
goofballs
shows, too.
in the reality house. Can't we get back to a pure music? And not the Box. Does anybody remember the Box?
Box, I do. That was Canadian, wasn't it? Was the Box Canadian?
I don't know, but I think you had to send them money for them to play your video. It was some.
It's pretty
weird
brilliant.
thing. I don't know how.
Now it's all just YouTube. You see every video there.
Yeah, I guess so. That's.
It's amazing MTV can still survive. If they didn't make the shift you were talking about, they wouldn't have survived.
I guess with YouTube they wouldn't have, but they went to programming reality TV before YouTube was really.
But they still remember during that time they still had TRL, which was a massive moneymaker for them. Total Request Live.
Okay, well, it was a moneymaker just because of the
I
advertising.
mean, their VJs
Did well.
were pop culture celebrities.
Yep, not anymore. I don't even think they have any kind of
that's amazing.
talent.
It's a terrible shame. Terrible shame.
Who was the guy with the perm?
Was it Alan Cummings? No,
Hunter. He had
Like
more of a
Aaron
mullet.
Hunter,
Oh,
yeah.
Mark Goodman, you're thinking.
Mark Goodman,
that's,
yes.
yeah.
You can still hear
The
him
Podfather.
on the 80s on 8
Yeah.
on Sirius, along with Alan Hunter and the breathy Nina Blackwood. J.J. Jackson, dearly departed. Martha Quinn, just not having anything to do with it. And I think that's pretty much it, right? For the original VJs. It was just the 5.
We're dating ourselves.
Were massive, massive icons of the time. So we appreciate it. Please consider becoming for as little as $5 a month. It really helps support the show, and it's a really big deal to keep us going and coming back. We expect to be joined next week by Erica Erickson, who will be gracing us with her presence and maybe the latest crazy stories that she's covering at Channel 4. You can catch those on WDIV every day. She was going to come in today, but she's doing the morning show. So sometimes you'll see her very early, but you never know where she's going to show up. You just know it's always going to brighten your day. Unless you've been horribly murdered, in which case,
Thank you for that.
Kind of doing your job. Although I guess if you've been horribly murdered, perhaps you're beyond caring. So yeah, it's never a bad thing when Erica shows up. It was great having Neal on. He tells some more of his favorite stories, including the amazing tale of 7-foot-tall Reggie Harding, would-be robber, most obvious suspect in the neighborhood, in our bonus episode, which is, again, a perk of being a soulmate. You'll see that one coming soon. And Shawn, what are you up to? You're back to work now?
Yeah, I got back to work last week. A little baseball. Maybe we'll talk about the empty seats at Comerica, or not talk about, sorry. I'm so used to being here, I guess. Write about the empty seats at Comerica Park.
Well,
and
after this weekend, I think we're all sellouts. The only empty seats are the best seats.
Yeah, it was very striking. That's kind of what got me thinking about it. And then also, and plus it's just been a topic, so to speak. And also then maybe I might get in on it, think about a piece about who's closest, because the last couple of years we were thinking the Lions were probably the closest to a title, and now if the Tigers overtaken them, I mean the Pistons could be there in the next couple of years. It's a stark contrast, to use a cliche that Mike likes, from 3 or 4 years ago, where nobody was remotely close, and now we're kind of like, hey, who's next?
There was a team that was always close to the championship, and it makes my heart sad to say it, but the Michigan Wolverines.
Oh
no, they were our championship team for
still are.
For a while. They did finally win it, but they were knocking on the door in the playoffs, and I hope that this is a seesaw situation.
I said
where
about 4 years ago, and
they go down while everybody else
4
goes
years
up.
ago, even for them, 4 years ago, they were considering firing Harbaugh. He took a pay.
I was one of them.
He took a pay cut. He took a pay cut, and then that all changed. Anyway,
Shawn,
lots of exciting stuff in the Free Press.
Did you meet Jay Batt, the new AD at Michigan State?
I did.
What's with this initial thing? It seems kind of pretentious.
I think it's just Jay. He goes by Jay.
It was just like Illinois had a linebacker, right? Jay Lehman.
Yeah, or like Kay in the Men in Black.
Oh, okay.
Nice reference.
Wow. Of course, Shawn's a big film student there.
No,
right.
not
we learned
anymore.
that today.
Yeah, not anymore. And that was not a serious art film, but that was a very fun movie. Anyway, that's another story.
Okay. Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We hope you'll be back next week. We expect Erica to be joining us. And until then, we ask our friend Cyrus to take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
What are your prime directives?
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney.
What is this shit?
Anything you say may be used against you.
Podcast.
You idiot! You recorded every word you said.
You're dead. We killed you.
His memory's admissible as evidence. You're gonna have to kill it. Get in the car, for God's sake!
The soul of Detroit.
The future of
Podcast.